If you're a buyer waiting for the housing market to crash, I've got some bad news for you. And if you're a would-be seller and you're waiting for COVID bidding wars to come back, I've also got bad news for you. We're going to cover both of those today in your March 2026 housing market update. What is going on, party people? My name is Chris Elliot, local realtor here in Central Virginia since 2013. In that time, I've sold over 600 plus homes right here in Metro Richmond. What we're going to do in this video is what we do every month. We're going to look at the national housing headlines. What of that is actually real, what of that is actually factual, and then we're going to compare that to our local Central Virginia market to see if the trends line up or if they don't line up, and what you need to know as a would-be buyer seller. And if you stay till the very end, I'm going to give you 3 practical tips that we're currently giving to our seller clients as well as to our buying clients. Let's jump into it. All right, first and foremost, let's talk about affordability, which is the buzzword when it comes to housing. Everybody's talking about it, from politicians to the news media, and probably your Uncle Larry, who is a housing market expert in his spare time. All right, so before we jump into it, let's define terms. What is affordability when we're talking about the housing market? Well, I would submit to you that housing affordability is comprised of 3 things. It's mortgage rates, it's prices, and it's wages. Rates and prices comprise your monthly mortgage payment, and obviously wages is your monthly income. So essentially it's, what does this thing cost me on a monthly basis versus what am I bringing in monetarily on a monthly basis? Now, Nadia, and I cannot pronounce her last name, I apologize, Nadia, if you're watching this. It'd be pretty cool if you were. The senior economist at the National Association of Realtors recently said, for the last few years, we have been in one of the toughest affordability markets in modern housing history. Mortgage rates jumped from 3% in 2021 to above 7% in 2023, and that pushed the typical housing payment by more than $1,000 a month compared to the pre-pandemic levels, which was a huge jump if you lived through the housing market during that time. Now, here's the good news, and Mark Fleming, the chief economist at First American, said it best: the forces that eroded affordability in the aftermath of the pandemic, strong price appreciation and surging mortgage rates, have stabilized. Moderating home price growth, easing mortgage rates, and steady income gains signal a realignment in the forces driving affordability trends. And one of the cool things that the National Association of Realtors puts together is a housing affordability index, and you'll see it's improved in the second half of 2025. To interpret the index, a value of 100 means that a family with a median income has exactly enough income to qualify for a mortgage on a median priced home at 30% of their monthly income. So basically their monthly mortgage payment is going to be 30% of their monthly gross income. Now, Zillow predicts affordability will get even stronger this year, saying at a national level, a mortgage payment now takes 32.6% of median household income, already the best affordability seen nationwide since August of 2022. That's on track to improve to 31.8% by the end of this calendar year in 2026. So you can see that visually on this graph. Now, I'll point out that anytime the median mortgage payment exceeds 30% of median gross income, housing is deemed unaffordable. That's kind of the threshold that we typically look at. This got me personally wondering how affordable Central Virginia housing was to Central Virginians. So we did that math. Our current median home price as of January 2026 is $419,000. That's on the resale market. That's not new construction. And unfortunately, the only reliable source we have for household income in Central Virginia is a 2024 census report showing that the median household income in 2026 was $83,460, which has probably improved slightly since then. At that income level, Central Virginia housing would require 37% of gross income, putting us above that 30% affordability threshold. Now, I'm certainly hopeful that wages have improved since then. Running those numbers on current prices of housing, a Central Virginia home would need a gross household income of $103,000 in Metro Richmond to make housing affordable. And if anyone knows the median household income for Metro Richmond, certainly give me a shout. I'd love to know that number. Cara NG, which once again, I'm butchering her name. I apologize, Cara, if you're watching. A senior economist at Zillow says that this is what a small wins year looks like for housing. Rising income, subdued price growth, and gradually easing mortgage rates would help buyers regain their footing while allowing homeowners to continue building their wealth. She also went on to say these types of slow and steady affordability improvements are exactly what the housing market needs over the long run. Now, let's talk about mortgage rates for a second. They are at their lowest levels in 3 years. At the time of me writing and recording this script, we are currently at 6.14% on a 30-year fixed mortgage. And just to give you context on what that saved buyers in the marketplace, take a look at this graphic and let's look at the numbers of a $400,000 loan. You'll see that around this time last year, when we were sitting at 7.25 interest rates, your principal and interest payments payments, not including taxes and insurance, but just principal interest, was $2,729. Just 1 year later, the payment on that same loan has dropped to $2,463 at 6.25% for a monthly savings of $266, which is not going to completely change your financial picture, but it certainly helps with affordability. Look, I mean, if I could just get rid of one of my 3 kids, I could probably save myself $266 a month. In other good news, home price growth has moderated. Said differently, the rate of appreciation has slowed down. So the graphic you're seeing is not home prices going up and down, but rather the rate of appreciation. That's definitely an explainer for all my fellow sub 3.0 GPAers. I see you, I love you. We're one of the same. Now, if we look at our very own Metro Richmond, we're showing a similar trend. However, we are currently at 2.2% year-over-year appreciation, whereas the national market is about 1.7% currently year-over-year. So essentially, our appreciation in Metro Richmond is slightly outpacing what we're seeing on a national level. In more good news, wage growth in the US exceeded home price growth in 2025 and is expected to do so again in 2026. Obviously, there is still work to be done to catch back up with all the home price appreciation that we saw during the COVID years. But we're certainly trending in the right direction to improve affordability. Mortgage rates have also been dropping gradually, and with that, buyer activity has picked up, as you can see in the purchase index, which tracks mortgage loan applications specifically for home purchases as opposed to refinances. And here's another graphic showing that purchase index a different way, so you see that buyer demand is heading in the right direction. So you might be telling yourself, hey Chris, that all sounds good, but what does this all mean to me? Well, right now I'm going to give you our 3 tips that we're currently giving to our would-be seller clients as well as to our would-be buyer clients. First things for sellers, who you work with matters. Again, I would submit to you it always mattered, but for the last few years, the market did most of the heavy lifting, to be very honest with you. You could throw a sign in the yard and still get multiple offers. We are certainly not in that market anymore. We've seen well over 100,000 agents leave the business since 2022 when the mortgage rates jumped up, and the reason is simple. This environment requires a skilled real estate professional at the helm. The difference between a true professional and a semi-professional now shows up whether the home sells, how quickly it sells, and ultimately what you as a prospective seller are able to net from your home. In a market with more inventory and more negotiation, you need someone who knows how to price strategically, market effectively, and negotiate intelligently on your behalf. And probably most importantly, has the chops to be able to tell you the truth, not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear as a seller in this market. Skilled markets reward skilled representation. My second tip, prep with a plan, not with a guess. If you want to net top dollar in strong terms in this market, there's usually 2 to 4 weeks of intentional prep involved, and that prep should be strategic, not emotional. The biggest mistake I see sellers make is spending time and money on things that they think matters instead of what buyers are actually looking for and what they actually care about in this market. Before you start painting random rooms or start tearing out perfectly good countertops, have a conversation with a competent real estate professional about what will truly move the needle when it comes to your home sale. And if you want one simple step that you can take away today, get a professional home inspection before you list your property. It's going to cost you about $500, but if there's anything wrong with your house that you're not aware of, negotiating that same item could very well cost you a lot more than $500 and a lot more than it would cost to fix it before you went on the market. Third and final things for sellers, if you're even thinking about selling this spring or early summer, now's the time to start the conversation. I know it still feels early, but it won't be for long. If your goal is to list when school gets out or move during the summer, the prep window is right now. Between inspections, contractor touch-ups, staging, photography, and pricing strategy, March turns into May very, very quickly, and I can tell you that as somebody that's gone through this process with multiple people. By the time you're watching this, we are officially in prime selling season, so if a move is on the radar, let's get on your horse and start going today. And if you don't already have a real estate professional that you know, like, and trust, we would love the opportunity to earn that business. Shoot me a DM, give me a phone call, email, text, send a carrier pigeon, reach out to us. And for my buyers, if you were looking at buying a home within the last 12 to 18 months and you walked away because it just didn't make sense, you may want to revisit that. Your payment could be $200 to $300 lower today on the same loan size than it was just 6-12 months ago. Yes, rates are not 3%, but they are meaningfully lower than last year, and seller concessions are now more common than they've been in a number of years. That's a real affordability improvement. Secondly, for my buyers, here's what I've learned over the last 13 years in this business. Consumer sentiment matters almost more than anything. When the herd decides it's a great time to buy a home, everybody and their mother jumps in the market at the exact same time. And when that happens, what happens? Competition spikes, inventory tightens, negotiation leverage disappears. Right now, we're kind of sitting in a sweet spot. Rates are sitting at about 6.1%. They haven't hit that magical 5-something number, but keep in mind that once they do, everybody and their mother is going to decide that it's a great time to jump into the market. So if you're able to find a house now that works for you and your family, I would encourage you to snag it up, because you will be able to negotiate or refinance your loan if and when rates go down at some point in the future. What you're not going to be able to do is to go back in time and renegotiate the sales price with the seller. You can always refinance the rate. You can't renegotiate the sales price. And guys, that was it. That was our March 2026 housing market update. If there's anything we didn't address, if we can be of service, shoot me a DM, reach out, call, text, email. Thanks for tuning in. Look forward to seeing you next month.